Hello, AirWave. My name is Estelle Collette, and I'm here with Konner Hunter. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Connor, and I just released an album titled Unforeseen.
How did you get started with music and pick up an instrument for the first time?
So I first started taking piano lessons when I was younger, and I didn't love piano lessons at first, so I switched to guitar, and I pursued that deeper. And then along the way, I picked up drums and singing.
Outside of the album you just released, Unforeseen, you've been a part of several bands in the past, such as Dreaming of Clarity. What led you to go solo and create music as an individual?
So I've been writing my own music since like sophomore year of high school, but I really started writing more frequently like my senior year of high school, and I kept doing it. So I've always been writing my own music, but in high school I played in bands and I played bass guitar usually. And then in Dreaming of Clarity, I played lead guitar and background vocals, but I've always been like working on my own music. And right now I'm in a band called Just a Few Words, and so that's given me an opportunity to play more of my own music.
Getting more into the music making process, tell me about your setup and how you go about writing songs. Tell us about the space where you create music.
My setup at first wasn't so great. I released an EP back in October, and I didn't have like proper music equipment necessarily, so I didn't have good speakers to like mix music on. I didn't have that many microphones, but I just used what I had available to me. In that EP, I had no live drums. I used a cajon and like one SM57 for it. But in this album, I've gotten more equipment. I got better speakers, better microphones, and that's allowed me to like create different things. So for a lot of the guitar tracks, I plugged directly into my Scarlett 2i2. And then for drums on the album, I didn't have a full 8 input Scarlett at the time, so I was using 2 inputs to record bass drum and an overhead. And then I would go back over the songs and record a snare part. So you might notice in parts of the songs, like there's 2 snare sounds and they don't quite match up all the time, and that's the reason for that. With this album, I kind of wanted something in between, like something lo-fi, like low quality, but also like accessible to like just an average music listener.
How do you know that a song is finished?
I don't know, usually when writing songs, I start with just an acoustic guitar and vocals, and then I'll kind of figure out the outline just on the guitar. And then when I'm recording, I'll just go step by step. So first I'll usually do guitar, and then I'll just do vocals, and then I'll just think about what the song needs next. So usually bass guitar, sometimes I'll add synths, drums, and I just go like I just add each part until I think it has everything it needs. And there's times where it's like I don't know if this is finished, but I don't want to spend forever on a song. So at some point you have to just be like, okay, this is what it is. It's finished, and then you can move on to the next thing.
How have you found and developed your sound and explored your musical style throughout the writing process?
I don't know. I guess my sound is kind of a result of just what I have to work with. So production-wise, the sound I get, like sometimes it's lo-fi quality. It's just a result of what I have available to me. But for my actual songs, I just kind of write on a guitar, and whatever comes to me comes to me.
What or who inspire you, and what are your musical influences? Do we hear those reflected in your sound?
A few bands that have inspired me, I would say one is Car Seat Headrest. I found that band when I was like a junior in high school, and I really appreciated their sound. Like the first time I listened to them was during the NPR Tiny Desk concert, and I appreciated that the singer had like a raw, authentic voice. Like it objectively, people would say his voice isn't good, but that kind of gave me hope for somebody like me who, I'm not a trained vocalist. So it kind of just gave me hope that, oh, I can write songs with just like my authentic feelings and it doesn't need to be anything like perfect. Another artist I've listened to a lot and that's inspired me is Andy Schaaf. I just really like his way of songwriting and how he like creates a story within his music. And that's definitely something I want to try to do as well. I feel like this album I just created was more so inspired by Car Seat Headrest, but I have songs I want to work on in the future that I want to have a sound closer to Andy Schaaf and kind of tell a story like with acoustic guitar and like more laid back drums.
So speaking of telling stories through music and inspirations, what ideas do you want to convey through your music, and what inspires you as a songwriter when it comes to writing lyrics?
I don't really have like ideas I'm trying to convey. Like a lot of my songs are feelings based, so I just have an emotion and then I pick up a guitar and I just write whatever comes to mind. I guess in a way feelings inspire me to write music, but I also want to try taking my feelings out of it and just like creating something less personal to me, because I feel like a lot of my songs are personal, but I'd also like to create something less personal that people can still relate to.
Tell me a bit about your stylistic choices. For example, throughout Unforeseen, we hear a lot of layered vocals and strong lead guitar.
For the recording process, I'm still very much in the beginning stages of learning everything about recording and mixing and mastering songs. So with the album, I was very much just like experimenting with different things. One thing I was doing a lot, which I noticed other artists do, is doubling my vocals and doubling guitar parts. So I did that in a lot of the songs. You can hear my voice is doubled, and usually one's panned to the left and one's panned to the right. And oftentimes there's more than a few vocal tracks, and the same thing for guitar.
I want to ask about some of the specific themes present throughout the album. Several songs mention the pressure of social media, Scarlet and the Color Red, for example, in the song Shades of Red, as well as nail polish, and the topic of religion in Change My Heart. So tell me a little bit more about those sort of reoccurring themes.
So the themes I've been saying that like I find are present within the album are like love, loss, and like social media. I mean, social media is everywhere, and we're always looking at it pretty much, and they kind of project how your life should be or how you need to be as a person. We see that all the time, so I kept that idea within some of my songs in the album. One of the things I like about an album is that you can have like a whole theme or idea for an album, and like you can't get that within a single. So the first song on the album is Shades of Red, and that's pretty much just about like being in a room or in a relationship with somebody you love. And then I kind of reference that in the song Nail Polish by saying I miss the room of Scarlet. And so I just think it's really cool when artists do that in their albums, like they'll call back to another song. So that's kind of what I did there. Another theme I find, like going back, listening and looking through my songs from the album, I find that like loss is pretty common in it. There's several songs where I mention loss, like there's loss of like someone you love, and then in productivity, I mention losing a friend, and then in the last song on the album, it's titled Change My Heart, and I kind of talk about religion, and so it's almost like I've lost religion or faith in a way.
You've included some themes regarding organs and a sort of separation between mind and body throughout your music, not only in Unforeseen, but in previous singles you released. And I'd just love to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so there's a song I believe I wrote in 2021 that I didn't release like on all platforms, but it is on my Bandcamp, and you could probably find it on YouTube. And basically, that song is just like me wondering if we're just a bunch of organs, or if there's something deeper to us, like a soul. In the beginning of Nail Polish, I kind of reference organs. The first line of Nail Polish is, you can say, I'm what I need, just a body with some organs that can breathe. And I guess that's kind of just saying, like, maybe you're having a conversation with somebody, and they're like, well, you're alive, your body's functioning, but does that even matter in the grand scheme if there's not something deeper there?
We've been talking about some lines in Nail Polish, and there's just one other line I want to bring up. Quote, I just play guitar, don't call me an artist. This is my favorite line across the entire album because to me it reflects on the feeling of imposter syndrome that many musicians and artists across the board feel. I'd love to hear more about writing this line and what advice you'd give to, any musicians or artists who are feeling this sort of imposter syndrome.
Sometimes you just write a song really quickly and it like you don't even think too much about the lyrics. I feel like this was almost one of those songs that just came naturally. With that line specifically, I'm sure it's pretty relatable to most people, but like during the whole process of recording this album, there were like several times where I had a song and I'm like, oh, well this is garbage. And that's demotivating, but I'm a big believer, even if something is not the best, you should still finish it and put it out there. I feel like I'm no different than anyone else. So if anyone were to call me an artist, which you can do, but there's a part of me that feels like almost undeserving of that title because I'm just playing guitar and singing about my feelings, which I really think anyone can do.
When creating the image of Unforeseen, looking at the cover and the name and everything tying together, how did you include the themes that you wrote musically and lyrically and put that into one image?
So for the title, I I kind of just named it Unforeseen because things were happening in my life that I weren't expecting to happen. And so that's where the title comes from. And then for the album cover, that was pretty much the last thing I did. So I had all the 10 songs, and then I took specific ideas from some of the songs and put it on the album cover. So in work, I talk about jumping off a cruise ship, and there's a cruise ship on the cover. There's nail polish on the cover. There's a Bible on the cover. So
You just recently performed your album live with Just a Few Words. Tell me about what it was like to take this album and put it on stage.
it was really cool. It's really awesome to like just create something and then perform it for people. I felt I felt pretty proud to perform it in front of an audience, and the people I played it with did really well. We had Luca on drums and Isabel on bass, which they are also in Just a Few Words. And then we had our friend James play keyboard and synth, and he really helped bring the songs alive as well.
What is the main thing you want people to take away from your music?
I feel like there's not much to take away lesson wise, but ultimately, if people could relate to my music, that would be my goal.
Where can we listen to your music and find you, and what's next for you?
You can listen to my music everywhere, pretty much. Spotify, on YouTube. I have some music videos for a couple of the songs. It's pretty much on any platform you use. And then in terms of what's next, during Unforeseen, there's a few things I was working on the side that were just kind of for fun. I want to put that into an album and possibly a short film, because I have I think 10 songs. They're mostly intended to be comedic, which is completely different than what I just released. So I'm finishing the music portion of that, and then I'd have to record and film actual video. So that might be a while. And then there's a whole another project I want to work on, but I haven't even started that yet.
Thank you so much for this interview, and I wish you luck with your future project.